The House Committee on Government Operations will come to order. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Liberati.
Here.
Representative Pahutsky. Here. McFall. Here. Posthumous. Here. Green. Here. Mr. Chair, you have 5 members present. You have a quorum.
Today I'm proposing an additional committee rule regarding testimony to clarify our procedures. You each have a copy of the proposed rule at your seat. Representative McFall moves to adopt the committee rules. Will the clerk please call the roll?
On motion to adopt, Chair Liberati.
Yes.
Representative Pahutsky. Yes. McFall.
Yes.
Posthumous.
Yes.
Green. Yes. Mr. Chair, 5 yeas, 0 nays, 0 passed. The motion prevails.
All right, first up, we're going to have Senator Hertel speaking to his Senate Bill 249.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I appreciate your willingness to take up testimony on Senate Bill 249 today. This is something that previous legislators have worked on in previous sessions, and I'm glad we're getting it to this point today. And it did come out of the Senate unanimously last year. And really the intent of this bill is to stem the tide of our current paramedic shortage that's facing the entire state, every single one of our communities. I know when I meet with my locals, this is one of the things we talk about all the time, that just finding enough people, trained paramedics to do the job is very difficult. And so currently Michigan operates a paramedic licensure through the National Registry. This requires a national accreditation, and it's a cost burden that is far too great for many of our local training agencies. It's leading to the closure of many programs across our state, and it's narrowing an already too tight pipeline for folks to get into this career. As I stated, this is a problem that's touching every area of our state, and it has particularly dire consequences for the northern half of our state, where only 12 total training programs are available today. The Michigan-only license for paramedics would return an option to local fire departments for the training of their paramedics. And I want to be very clear, this is only an option. The national accredited pathway will still be available. This will open up another pathway for individuals to take, and it will save them a ton of money in that process, the individual that's going through it. Today, they would have to go through a program that can cost over $20,000. Our local departments would be able to do this at a much reduced rate, but we're still going to be required to hit the same standards as the National Registry license while reducing those costs. All of the hours, the on-the-job training hours, are still the same. Nothing changes in the curriculum. It's just where and how they're able to go about getting that training. And so I think the need for this legislation is very clear, both during the committee and throughout all of our conversations on these bills. We have heard from our locals about these staffing challenges. And while these challenges existed prior to the pandemic, it has heavily exacerbated it. It is estimated that the state currently has 1,000 paramedic roles that are left unfilled. And the outcomes of these shortages are dire, especially for our first responders. When the call comes in for a fire, an accident, a cardiac arrest, milliseconds matter to those individuals. And being short-staffed can only lead to a decrease in effective public safety. So I know this is an issue that so many of us all care about. We're all hearing about it. We're trying to find solutions. Expanding the number of training programs is a sensible and targeted policy intervention that will increase the public service across our communities and save lives while doing it. So I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
I have a quick question. Are other states using this to
So we
alleviate
would,
their-
yeah, Michigan would be the first if we were to do this. Now, I will say, since we've introduced this bill here and have been working it through the process, we've heard from other states that are interested. They're all seeing the same problem of finding individuals who are licensed to do this job and trying to find effective ways to be able to get them through the program quicker. And what I will say, and this was brought to my attention yesterday, here in the state of Michigan, we were talking multiple years to get somebody through this program at the community college level historically, since we've gone to a national accreditation as a state. And now we're even seeing those programs be shortened because they've realized that if this is coming, they're going to have to compete with this as well. And so they're showing that you can do this in a shorter time frame. more cost-effective time frame. So whether people use this program or an accredited program, we want them to be able to get through that as quickly as possible and in service across our community. So I think you'll see other states look at this policy once we pass it. There was, about a decade ago, there was a big push for everybody to go into this nationally accredited program. And that's what we've seen happen. And folks are now realizing that that has not done a service to making sure we have enough paramedics across our community. And so everybody's looking for a way to be able to get more folks through this training. I think this will do that.
Thank you. Representative Green?
So I see that, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this. I guess I'm concerned that the licensing will no longer be portable from state to state, and that I just want to make sure that the students understand that their licensing will no longer be portable. And I guess we do those licensings all the time, like we accept like teacher accreditation or occupational therapy, which I think was the heart of why they formed a national test, that because then it is portable. So we're removing that. I do have a second follow-up question to that.
So I will say that. I don't have the exact number in front of me. I think some of the folks from the firefighters will talk about this. But the amount of individuals that actually maintain that accreditation, because they do have to, once you're accredited, you have to maintain it year over year. And the amount of people that actually maintain that accreditation is surprisingly low. So there are a select few individuals, I think, that want that portability, and they would still have the option, even if we pass this, to go through the accredited process, maintain that accreditation. But I think what we've seen across the paramedics in Michigan is they don't find a lot of value in that accreditation because they don't even maintain it. And so, what you're really doing is putting a burden on somebody to have to spend thousands of dollars for a program without any other option, when we can do this in a better, more efficient, and cost-effective way.
So a follow-up question would be then, what is preventing the state then from increasing the fees to make it just as expensive eventually?
So I think the fees are set in the bill, but also we are looking at language right now that the department has proposed that will tie those to CPI, so that the department wouldn't have to continue to come back to the legislature and ask for those fees, that once those fees are set, they'll be tied to CPI, and they would increase at the rate of inflation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Representative McFall?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I really appreciate that you're bringing this forward, because I know my local fire department in Hazel Park has been pushing this, so I really appreciate it. They gave me an example of people that had tried to go through, did not finish the program just because they had questions that had nothing to do with Michigan at all. They had zero plans to ever even leave the state. But I do have one quick question. Didn't we used to have something where we actually did this before?
Yeah, so as I said, there was a national push,
Yeah.
right, across the country to go to this accreditation. I believe it was 2012. 2012 when Michigan forced this national accreditation. And I think what we've seen since then, and over a decade now, has been, it has hurt the field, right? So our departments had the ability to do this. Other folks, and this does not stop anybody from offering a Michigan-only paramedic license training course, right? That is accredited, that the state, you have to meet the requirements. Somebody that's offering the accredited training today could also offer a Michigan-only pathway as well that would be less expensive and easier for somebody to get through, offer another choice. So it doesn't prohibit anybody from doing it. It just really creates that pathway and option, and would give our local departments the ability to do it if they so choose as well.
Great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next up, we have, in support of the bill speaking, Montgomery Nye and Matthew Saar from the Michigan Professional Firefighters Union.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for having us here today, and thank you to the members of the committee. My name is Matthew Saar. I'm president of the Michigan Professional Firefighters Union. I represent 143 locals, approximately 5,000 career firefighters that serve just over 80% of Michigan's population. I'm here today, obviously, to talk about Senate Bill 249 that was brought forward by Senator Hertel, and we thank Senator Hertel for putting this bill up and bring a discussion that was much needed. So just on a quick overview of the Michigan professional firefighters I'd like to talk about, and then our expert in the field is Montgomery Nye. So a little bit more about me, 22 years as a paramedic, 20 years as a career firefighter. So I went through the old Michigan-only paramedic license. And I've been serving, and I think I'm doing a good job. And there's many of them around us, and Monty, as well for over 30 years. So to break it down further across the state, we're about 700 to 1,000 paramedics short. And that is from the UP all the way down to, Frenchtown, Monroe, down by Toledo, Niles, you name it. Everybody needs paramedics. And we've seen this shortage increasing over the years, starting back during our Great Recession, where we went from having over 100 places that were teaching the paramedic license down to our low point was just under 10. And now we've increased it back up to 26, but at this point we think there's really about 17 that are teaching the paramedic program. It's just not enough to sustain a state like Michigan of 10.8 million people. So we believe in it. We think it's an important bill for our members. We think it's important for the general public, more importantly. And the reason why that is that EMS is that link in that chain of survival. If any of you have ever had to call 911, the first thing we're hoping for is that they're there fast and they're there solving our problems. And at this point, we are still suffering with a paramedic shortage, and we believe Senate Bill 249 is a way for us to start helping to fix that. You heard the senator speak to a community college now putting on a program that's going much quicker. That has everything to do with what we're doing here today. People are now reacting to what we're doing. The other thing that I wanted to address is in regards to the National Registry that Representative Green brought up versus the Michigan only. We're not taking away the National Registry option. We're not asking for that. If going through the paramedic program, you'd like to still maintain that and go through the National Registry standpoint, you can do that. We just believe this is another option and gives us the ability to train more Michigan paramedics. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak today. A couple of reasons that certainly that we think this is important is we have to open up the doors to the paramedic career to people that have thought these doors were closed. Many people haven't even considered it as a career because of the cost, well over $20,000 from basic EMT up through paramedic to become trained. Lansing Fire Department, for example, has had to send 3 paramedics. They're sending many more, but initially sent 3 paramedics off to an accredited National Registry program. And these were people that they had already hired to send. And by the time they pay them to go, the travel time, the backfill to fill those positions that they have, it's over $150,000 just for 3 paramedics for Lansing Fire to get them through. This would allow Lansing Fire to put on a program right there where I went through. I went through a program at Lansing Fire Department, and I would dare say my save rate was right up there with those that had gone through accredited programs. And we did it in 6 months. And now it's taken 18 months to 2 years to go through the program. Lansing Fire could do it right there at minimal cost. It would cost them every couple of years, they would have to buy updated books, but they already have the instructor coordinators on staff. Every fire department has an instructor coordinator on staff. So they could put the programs on there. They could hire individuals that normally wouldn't be able to go to school full-time. This way they're able to become paramedics while they're still providing for their families and being able to make bills meet, much like it used to be. The last paramedic program that was fire-based that went through Michigan was 2018. They started implementing the program in 2012, and it took that long because you can have up to 3 years to test and then another 3 years on top of that take a refresher and go again. So the last one was just 2018, not that long ago. So this isn't anything new. The Michigan only aspect of it, again, is just an option. The National Registry will still be in place. We'll be able to shorten those, drastically reduce the costs without changing any educational requirements. And that's the one thing I want to say again and again. This does not change the educational requirements at all. They're still state-approved programs, just like they were before. The state of Michigan staff would have to review the programs, approve them, and they have to follow the state of Michigan curriculum. So there's no change in any of that here. This just opens it up, makes it more accessible. Those that wanted the portability still could take theirs. Over 75% of those that are nationally registered, that are NREMTs, drop their certification. So majority of them don't want to, leave the state. And quite frankly, if the fire departments are paying you to go to school, I don't think they're going to want that portability. They don't want to spend their monies and then have you leave the state. And that's certainly happening now. After fire departments have paid people to go through, they have, some have left the state for other jobs. All the stakeholders in Michigan came together. The EMS providers, private, fire-based, everybody supports 249. And I thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, wishing to speak in support of the bill, Representative Dave Preston.
Didn't know this is happening today. Thank you, everybody. Just coming down here to speak to support of this bill. Building capacity in the state has been a big problem. I was born into EMS through a state-based EMT program, and then I went through a COAMP certified National Registry paramedic program just before the pandemic. So I served all throughout the pandemic, and I'm actually going through my recertification through the National Registry right now. So I believe in this bill. I believe in the additional capacity that it's going to build. Station-based education is something that's really deteriorated over the years, and I think it's part of the reason that we've fallen into the situation that we're in. I'm happy to answer any questions pertaining to it. That was what I did prior to coming into the legislative body, so I'm fresh out of the field, and this is a good bill. It's going to give the flexibility for the people that want to remain in Michigan to not be tied to a national-based program, and give our different fire departments as well as stations the ability to educate from within instead of going to an accredited facility in the accreditation process. It's egregious in a lot of ways. National Registry started out, what National Registry started out as is not what they are today. They're still really good, but just the process has become much more expensive and much more onerous. So, happy to take any questions.
Representative McFall.
I don't really have a question as much as I appreciate you coming here and speaking on this because I know it's your background. You and I spoke about this briefly on the floor one day, in fact, so I appreciate that you found out about this, that it was happening, that you came to speak on it, so thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you.
I have a couple cards to read in. In support of the bill, not wishing to speak, Terry Chesney, Michigan Professional Firefighters Union. Not wishing to speak in support of the bill, Angela Madden, Michigan Association of Ambulance Services. In support of the bill, not wishing to speak, Stephanie Johnson, Michigan Association of Fire Chiefs. And in opposition to the bill, not wishing to speak, Christy Stingen, Michigan College of Emergency Physicians. Next up, we're going to have testimony from Noah Arbit on his H4 substitute for House Bill 4927 that we took testimony on last committee.
Thank you, Chair Liberati and members of the committee. I appreciate you having testimony on this bill last month when I was laid out with COVID. That wasn't fun. But my legislative director, Joanne, did a great job. So again, I'm very honored to represent a very large Chaldean community in the greater West Bloomfield area. This bill, 4927, designates, well, the sub before you would designate May as Chaldean American Month. The reason for the switch was in conversations with the Chaldean American Chamber of Commerce, and the new title of the month matches the governor's proclamation, the language that she has had for the past 2 years. So just a simple sub to make those changes, and the name of the month that was in conversations with them what they viewed as most appropriate. So I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has it, but I appreciate your time on this bill.
Looks like you're getting off easy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Representative Poketsky makes the motion to adopt H4 substitute to amend House Bill 4927. Will the clerk please call the roll?
On motion of adopting the substitute, Chair Liberati.
Yes.
Representative Pohedsky. Yes. McFall.
Yes.
Postumus.
Yes.
Green. Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays, 0 passed. The H4 substitute is adopted.
Now Representative McFall makes a motion to report House Bill 4927 with recommendation as substitute H4. Will the clerk please take the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Liberati.
Yes.
Representative Pohedsky. Yes. McFall.
Yes.
Postumus.
Yes.
Green. Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays, 0 passed. House Bill 4927 is reported for recommendation as substituted.
Representative McFall moves to approve the minutes of the last government ops meeting without objections, so ordered. There being no absent members and no more business before the committee stands adjourned.